With the ever-growing demand for seafood and the dwindling resources of natural fisheries, aquaculture has stepped forward to play a pivotal role in meeting the world's food needs and generating income for communities across the globe. However, as the aquaculture industry continues to expand, it also brings to the forefront a complex web of ethical issues. So, in this mini presentation, we will talk about the ethical implications of aquaculture regulations in the Philippines. But before we begin, what is aquaculture? When we say aquaculture, it is the controlled cultivation or farming of aquatic organisms such as fish, crustaceans, mollusks, algae, and other organisms of value such as aquatic plants. What we are doing in aquaculture is to recreate their natural living conditions so that we can rear them outside of their natural habitats in order for mass production to fit the needs of our consumers. So this aquaculture is a significant contributor to our country's total fishery productions. In fact, it is a vital industry in the country which contributes significantly to our food security, protein supply, jobs, especially in coastal areas. So you can see from this slide that the total fisheries volume of production as of 2022 is 4,339.89 metric tons. And of this amount, 54.1 is contributed by the aquaculture sector. This is followed by the marine municipal sector, constituting 21.8% of the total fisheries volume. Commercial is 868.41 metric tons or 20%, and inland municipal fisheries 4%. As our aquaculture industry continues to expand, it also brings to the forefront a complex web of ethical issues. Some of these ethical issues pertain to environmental sustainability, animal welfare, health, and safety of human populations. In terms of environmental sustainability, there has been concerns, especially because of the pollution that is caused by the feed as well as the animal excretions from fish ponds. This could in turn spread to natural habitats and modify these habitats, especially when some of the cultured species have escaped and mated with the wild population. Aquaculture-mediated species invasions are also likely to occur, therefore creating new niches for pathogens as well as disease transmission to the wild populations. In terms of animal welfare, there has been concerns regarding the stocking density of these cultured fishes in captivity, as well as the quantity of feeding and nutritional demands. Because of the stocking density, some of these cultured organisms are susceptible to diseases and therefore may have enhanced exposure to predators as well as other human activities. In terms of health and safety of human populations, there has been concerns regarding the consumer safety due to the aquaculture-derived microbes from the fish diseases as well as resistant transfers. Because the common mode of treating diseases in cultured fishes is through the use of antibiotics. And this antibiotic residues in the water could also pollute the environment and therefore contribute to our problems with microbial antibiotic resistance. Okay, in the country, we have several policies that guide the practice of aquaculture. The main one is the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998 or the Our Republic Act 8550. We also have the Code of Good Aquaculture Practices and the Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act of 1997. So all of these regulatory frameworks have existing policies which pertains to the safety of those who are doing aquaculture as well as environmental laws to prevent pollution, or unintended escape of the cultured species. So uh, for this paper, here are our objectives. Our main objective is to assess the ethical implications of these Philippine government rules and regulations, especially on the testing, releasing, and commercialization of aquaculture species. And specifically, our study aims to conduct an ethical analysis grounded in bioethical frameworks and principles, evaluate the effectiveness of existing guidelines, and also to identify potential gaps or areas of improvement within the regulatory framework. For our methodology, we use this ethical matrix. As you can see, we have identified four major stakeholders: environment, producers, consumers, as well as treated organisms. So for all of these stakeholders, we decided to evaluate the well-being, autonomy, and justice bioethical principles. For environmental well-being, we will look into the laws pertaining to environmental protection. For autonomy, how are the rules providing mechanisms for the maintenance of biodiversity? And for justice, in terms of environment, is the sustainability of biotic populations. For producers, we intend to measure the well-being of the aquaculture workers based on the adequacy of their income and safety of their working conditions. As for the autonomy, we seek to determine if they have the choice to adopt or not to adopt aquaculture. And for justice, we have fairness in trade and law. For consumers, we aim to look into the food safety and acceptability. For autonomy, the choice of food for the ordinary citizens, as well as the universal affordability of the food. And finally, for the treated organism, we will look into the welfare issues, especially of those aquacultured species. For their autonomy, we will look into their ability to be free in terms of their natural behavior. And for justice, we aim to look at the telos of the treated organisms.
Good day, Doc Alice, and thank you, Miss Nicole, for that beautiful introduction and methodology of our paper. I would like to apologize in advance because of the time constraints. I will briefly discuss the results and discussion of this paper and summarize our conclusions. Based on the ethical matrix that was used, the following results and scores were obtained. The ratings were previously explained in the methodology part, but I will repeat them for the sake of this presentation. The scores are as follows. For environmental considerations, it obtained a score of positive 2, positive 1, and positive 2 for well-being, autonomy, justice, respectively. This means that it has an overall positive ethical impact. For producer welfare, it scores a positive 1 and a plus 1 in both well-being and justice, meaning it has a moderate positive impact. Consumer protection scores positive 1, 0, and 0 across the parameters of the matrix. And finally, for treated organisms, it scores a negative 1, a 0, and a 0 in well-being, autonomy, and justice, respectively, the lowest in the ethical matrix. Based on the ethical matrix and the results, it was found out that analysis it was analyzed that the current agricultural laws and regulations of the Philippines are not ethically sound regarding consumer protection and most significantly in treating organisms. In terms of the effectiveness of the current laws and regulations of the Philippines, regarding aquaculture, and in the areas of environmental protection and biosafety standards, it was found to be moderately positive to substantially positive. There were also gaps identified from the current laws and regulations of the Philippines in aquaculture. There is a clear gap in consumers' food safety and affordability. And another one is, and it's the most important one, is the treatment of the organisms. Both areas scored a 0 to -1 in the ethical matrix. To summarize, the thriving Philippine aquaculture industry, this is a significant contributor to global food security and coastal employment, has evolved from its mariculture roots to embrace a diverse species, facilities, and methods, with seaweeds, milkfish, tilapia as leading production or as a leading produce. The sector faces ethical scrutiny, particularly regarding the breeding practices, artificial spawning techniques, growth and feeding issues, and the broader environmental and coastal concerns, despite being grounded in bioethical principles like autonomy and non-maleficence. In conclusion, the Philippine government's rules and regulations should acknowledge environmental concerns and economic viability in aquaculture, but needs a further refinement in several areas, such as promoting native species, ensuring fair access to fishing grounds, promoting consumers' affordability, and improving animal welfare. These improvements are crucial to achieving an industry or a sustainable industry and ethically sound future. Thank you and God bless us all.